Hello, friends. We're recording, and we're in the middle of a conversation, as always.
As
So, welcome,
always.
as always. What you, Aaron? I was drawing a thing for Aaron on the iPad, and he said, "Go back and start recording." So, yes, sir. Here we go. What you got? So, you wanted to ask a question?
Yeah, well, so just give people a breakdown of what's on the screen here so they can.
Okay. I wish I could, and I can't pinch it on my canvas right now because it's not doing what I want it to do. So, this was a one of the things that Gary Keller called the six personal perspectives. It was called E to P,
Mhm.
entrepreneurial energy to purposeful energy. And it really looks at where people tend to hit ceilings in their life. Like if you've ever, whatever it is, whether it's mindfulness or it's in your business and your revenue, at some level you hit a ceiling
Mhm.
of achievement in your life. Like you can't hustle or grind anymore to create more results. And when that happens, what people tend to do, but by the way, so that's what Gary would call an entrepreneurial style of trying to produce a result. Like you just go do what's natural
Mhm.
for you, and that produces whatever it produces until it stops. And um, so when that plateaus or causes you to get stuck, a lot of times people will look for the next magic bullet, like, oh, maybe it's this meditation app, or it's this, yoga class, or it's this. And what they do is they're taking on new strategies, but with the same entrepreneurial energy. None of it is helpful in breaking through their ceiling of achievement.
Mhm.
So in order to break through that ceiling of achievement, you've got to start to implement a purposeful stuff. You've got to move from entrepreneurial energy to purposeful energy, right? And there are five pieces that help you break through that ceiling in a purposeful way. The first is to focus. What do you actually want? It's not, don't just say more money, and don't just say, more time off, or I want to be a laptop entrepreneur. Like, actually, what is it that you actually desire? This is what Aaron and I call, your cathedral or your infinite game. What is your life for? What the hell are you doing? Why do all this mindfulness anyway? What's it in service of? And once you can get clear on and focus on what the actual desire is, then the next piece of that is to look at what are your options to do it. You could be like, I'm going to do this like a monk, and I'm going to go shave my head and sit in robes. And that's one option. Another option would be, I'm going to do the Eckhart Tolle thing. Or another option is you could do the mindful CEO thing. Who is already doing something that represents how you'd want to do it? And then the third piece is, once you pick an option, is to document the models of that option. Like how do they do it? What are, like in Aaron, in your book, you had mentioned like there's, five, what was it? Nine and five?
Yeah, the five spaces of living mindful, the five spaces of living gratefully in a fucked up world.
Yeah.
And then, it's a 9-week roadmap.
9-week roadmap.
That's
Right.
that's
Right.
the system, the model. The model is that.
The
The
model.
system
Yeah.
is every week you meditate for 10 minutes a day.
Hmm. Yeah. Right. So yeah, so that takes us, the fourth piece then is, once you have the models sort of documented and you're like, okay, well, this is what it says to do. The system of it is like the check boxes. Well,
Mhm.
what do I do in a day and a week of my life to live out this model? And then that the fifth piece then finally is accountability. Because I wish it weren't this way, and I hate accountability, but the reality is if you don't put yourself in a container that causes you to show up, you're more entropy, you're most likely just not going to show up.
Mhm.
Gravitational pull, you're not going to show up. You can do, by the way, you can do that however you want it. Like, I'm not going to do it where I pay somebody, my enemy, $500 if I don't do what I say I'm going to do. I don't do it that way. And I'm not going to ask you to hold me accountable because I'm going to be responsible for my own life. So there are certain ways I do accountability. Like, I put myself in partnership with people, like this thing with you and me, Aaron. Like I'm like,
Right.
I have a difference I want to make. But the best way for me to do that is to hook my wagon to other people who are going where I want to go, because it causes me to show up. That's accountability.
Right.
So yeah. So anyway, when you implement those five things, now there's a way to break through that ceiling achievement, and your ceiling becomes your floor. You're creating new results in your life and your business until you hit the next ceiling. And in that next ceiling, great, you get to sort of figure out what's the next option, model, systems, and accountability for the next level of growth. And
Mm.
I think what you and I are creating, what I'd like to create, in the mindful CEO is not spaces and processes for people to take this on to break through their ceiling in a more purposeful
Hmm.
way than just like downloading the next mindfulness app and hoping that does the trick. A dojo, if you will.
Hmm. I like it. Well, so what I liked about it in particular was, people that have walked that walk, people that have gone through the roadmap, living a grateful life in a fucked up world. We created the mastermind for those people that, okay, you could find a lot of value and go can't really go wrong in doing the living grateful life again and again and again. The cohorts, the meditations, it's all useful. And, if you wanted to expand that, right, where would you go? And what would you be missing if you didn't find a place to go? And this is what you'd be missing. Models, systems, accountability. You would be on your own, which is on one hand fine. And on the other hand, life is considerably easier. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and this is a go with others kind of thing. And you're not just going,
Yeah.
you're um you got to see, you have a plan, you have a system, you have a direction.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, so and then, and really in a lot of ways, Chris, what you and I have, I mean, when we look at what this is,
Mm.
right? This is, the purpose is to uh, um, slay the dragon of hustle culture,
Yes. And
right?
and also be panda's a possibility.
And that who is doing that slaying is the pandas of possibility, motherfucker.
That's right. That's
Right.
right.
That's who's
That's
doing it.
right.
Oh my God, look at this card I got. This is so
Right.
funny. I bought this card about 3 weeks ago.
Oh my gosh, no way. It's a panda. I love it.
And it's
That was before we even said panda's a
before we said
possibility.
anything about it, I
No
completely
way.
forgot that I bought it.
No way.
It really wasn't even a thing. I just bought it because I liked it.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. That's funny.
That is really funny.
Wow.
Um, so yeah, so Panda's a possibility. That's our focus. And there's this system of you and I get together every week, reliable practice, accountability, and we
Yeah.
do
Yeah.
make, we're holding each other to account to make sure that we're in fact building something that we're interested in building versus, as you and I have both said, you're just sitting here and jerking each other off, right? Just
Right. Yeah.
said less harshly, it's the difference between this being a out to fulfill something and this being a book club,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know?
Exactly. Yeah. Which out to fulfill something feels more has more utility. It feels more useful than just a book club. I think book clubs can be long in the tooth. You're like, oh my God, are we going to talk about one more idea? Versus like we talk about ideas and we host conversations to fulfill the thing you say you're out to accomplish or to, do with your life. Very different types of conversations to me.
Yeah.
And I think this purposeful side, these five, pieces of purposeful action or energy to me feel like something you and I are kind of talking through. Like what options do we have for how we would want to grow this mindful CEO mastermind? What are the options? And then picking an option, being like, okay, well, what models of growing a mastermind do we want to implement? And then what are the systems of those models? And you and I haven't really done that yet. So I'm interested also in this for you and I because uh, I, I'm interested in this having impact. I'm interested in this space and conversation of how to live a grateful life in a fucked up world rippling for generations. I'm interested in that. And I don't want to be 5 years down the road and still have 12 listeners of a podcast and five members of a
Right.
mastermind, right? Like this is too valuable. I feel like for,
Yeah, good. Well, I think part of the value for us would be in codifying the models, the system,
yeah,
talking about it, getting it so that it's, you know, there's, uh, that the accountability is around what you measure,
yeah,
maybe even adding goals to the
yeah,
conversation. Jeff Wilmore just was talking about the difference between goals and intentions, and we've
yeah,
definitely leaned towards intention.
yeah,
Um,
right.
but I think we do it at the expense of, or at with no attention on goals.
Goals. Yeah, yeah. That feels, or the flip side in hustle culture is you focus so much on goals and you have no idea what your intention is. Like it's very, I feel like people pick one path or the other. It's like,
Right,
but rarely is it yin and yang and holding both of those. Yeah.
right. And there really is a power in, like, okay, like getting the goal of, my book recorded this week,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
But go ahead.
I think that would be really useful. Like, I think there's an
Yeah.
intention, there's a power with that.
Yeah. Jim Rohn used to did I tell, when I was brand new agent, like 24 years old, my brokerage had one of those old cassette tape books that you open up the plastic thing and it's got like six cassette tapes embedded in the plastic, and one of the tapes was Jim Rohn, who
Hmm.
was Tony Robbins' mentor.
Yeah.
And then it got stuck in my car for 2 years. So I listened to Jim Rohn for like 2 years because it was stuck in my
The
car.
same Jim Rohn.
The same thing. Yeah. And I loved it. He had so many good one-liners, but he used to say, we set goals to your point
Yeah.
about goals. Like we set goals because they entice us to become the people it takes to achieve them. We set goals because they entice us to become more than we are, to become the
Yes.
person that would achieve that goal. It's not really about and Gary, by the way, Gary used to say that. Gary Keller would be like, I set big goals so that I can get a big plan. And then I don't even care about the goal because now it's all about execution of the plan. But if you set a small goal, then you get a small plan. And if you set a big goal, then you get a big plan. To the purposeful thing, like your models are bigger when you have a big goal.
Yes.
And your models are smaller when you have a small goal. That's why this isn't a book club. This is like, what do
Right.
you want to do with your life that would ripple for generations? That feels like mindful CEO stuff. That's epic. That's an epic conversation. But we play so small. This is where like a lot. I feel like my work. I get so fired up because like we just punch the clock on. Well, that's not realistic, and I'm like, yeah, but you're missing what you're like. Let's play a bigger game and stop being so hard on yourself to try
Yeah.
to accomplish that game in this lifetime. It doesn't matter. It just entices you to become the person it takes to achieve it.
Well, it's also particularly useful when you hold a goal gently, with the same
Mm,
heart that you hold the intention that we're talking about,
beautiful.
that,
Love that.
you hold the goal within the intention,
Yeah.
you know, that you measure your um, progress toward the goal with kindness,
Yeah.
that you do
Yeah.
it mindfully. And I think to a
Yep.
whatever extent you could say that, we haven't been attentive. At the at the risk of being harsh, we've done away with goals.
Mm, yeah. Right. 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 Yeah. There's all kinds of stuff to unpack in that, but yeah.
Yeah.
Jim Rohn used to also say on that same cassette, by the way, he'd say, reasonable progress and reasonable time. Like don't set a huge goal and then expect that you're going to have it done tomorrow. And I think sometimes
Yeah.
that gets in the way of our gratitude, or I know it does for me. Like I have such high expectations that the things I've dreamed and envisioned as cathedrals that feel really worthy of my life and my time are still fucking, trying to come together. I'm like, it can be so frustrating and we can be so hard on ourselves. But
Mhm.
to make reasonable progress in reasonable time is good.
Yeah.
The opposite of that is also don't just excuse yourself and be like, well, it's been 10 years and I haven't still haven't done anything about it yet. I mean, that's also
Yeah.
not reasonable progress in reasonable time.
Yeah.
But that's the power of goals. Goals sort of invite you to go to work on what's the next thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I like the idea that you and I sometimes I think goals can be helpful in finding options models and systems that would get us to that goal. You'd be like, well, what's our desire? The focus. What's our desire as a goal? Not because the goal is the goal just acts as something that entices us to build something that's worthy of our lives. It's like, oh, that sounds like a fun game to play. Let's do that. So let's set a goal. But then we go, what are our options?
Yeah.
Aaron and Chris, what are our options to grow the Mindful CEO Mastermind? What are the models of the option we pick? What are the systems? And then let's go play it. I the thing I love so much about partnering with people like you is that it's just so much fun. To do this with you, Aaron, it's like,
Yeah.
you know, I just keep the relationship and the possibility of the relationship keeps me in the game. And I'm excited to be like, well, I really want to put more purposeful energy into the game we're playing because I think that would be really fun with you. And not like our podcast isn't fun and like our mastermind that we do isn't fun. But I'm like, there's a lot more in
Yeah.
what you and I represent as as one, as a co-creative partnership. There's so much more to come out and play, I think, for something that really makes an impact.
Yeah.
Love you.
Yeah, dude. I think this is great. I think it's a really useful conversation. And tomorrow in the mastermind, it'd be really great to roll this out
Okay.
and have people think about their goals, especially, we're coming up on the new year, and I
Yeah.
think there's a lot of knee-jerk by rote goal setting that's going to be happening,
Yeah.
or strictly by the numbers goal setting that's going to be happening
Yeah.
versus thoughtful, mindful. What is it? What's my why? What am I really out to create? You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. I like it. Okay.
yeah.
Any other thoughts
No,
on this
that's what I
one?
got.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll stop recording. Hey, everybody. Thanks for hanging with us in the conversation. Obviously, I put links in the show notes if you guys want to learn more about how to get into the conversation or the spaces with Aaron and I. Go to those links and choose your own adventure. But until next time, peace.
Peace.